This episode contains adult language and topics that may be disturbing for some listeners. Such topics include suicide, drug use, physical or sexual abuse of a child. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Grant.
And I'm Erica.
And this is
From Crime to Crime.
Welcome back to From Crime to Crime. I guess you know by now, it's a two-part episode.
Yeah, we rambled on.
Yeah, we went on too long, but if you're just joining us, start back with part one of this because it'll make a whole lot more sense because this episode is all about theories.
Yeah, unless you know the story of JonBenet Ramsey, which most people do.
Yeah, but we could still use the download, so please go listen to it.
So I hope everybody had a great Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Eric and I had great times and we got to see each other too. So it was a wonderful time. And Erica, what was your greatest gift?
Yeah, you mean our greatest gift?
It did turn into ours, yes, but go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to CrimeCon 2022,
Yep.
baby.
We're going to CrimeCon. CrimeCon's in Vegas this year, so it made it super easy. And Erica's husband, Matt, was very kind and gracious. So he got us tickets. So we're in.
Yeah, what did you call him? Your sugar daddy?
Sponsor daddy.
Yeah, that's right. Sponsor daddy. Perfect. He loved that, by the way.
He walked away.
Yeah. He just didn't want to go with me. So he's like, here, take Grant.
It's pretty much how that went. Yeah, he was like, well, I wasn't going to go. You needed someone to go with, so made sense.
Well, it worked out since you didn't get any other Christmas presents.
Yeah, I know. Christine was busy. We had a great time. She just, she forgot that part. It's no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, it's fine. She does great things for me every other day of the year. So you know what? My present to her was not having to get me a present for Christmas. It's okay. She doesn't listen to this, so she'll never hear it anyway.
Yeah. I was just going to say.
Yep. It'll be a nice little Easter egg for her if she ever does.
Yeah, she won't.
I know.
Yeah, so if any of you guys are going to CrimeCon, shoot us over an email or comment on Instagram and maybe we can all meet up and hang out and talk about weird things.
Yeah, we'd love to meet up and give away shirts and other things like that.
Yeah, so are you ready to get into this episode? Theories of JonBenet Ramsey?
Oh, I've been ready since last time, so let's get this going.
All right, so there's pretty much only two main theories. The first one is that the family was involved, and the second one is that it was an intruder. And under each theory, there's obviously like sub-theories, I guess you would call them.
Couldn't think of a better term, so yeah, sub-theory sounds great.
Yeah, so under the family, one of the first theories is Jon was involved. In this theory, there's multiple reasons that it could have been Jon. Some people think, okay, maybe there was sexual abuse involved, maybe there was child abuse, that kind of thing. And in this theory, Jon does something to JonBenet, and then Patsy helps him write the note and cover it up.
I don't buy it. I don't think that Jon had anything to do with this. It doesn't feel like from what he did, how he reacted, all those things, that seems like pretty genuine behavior to me. So I don't buy into Jon had anything to do with this.
Yeah, and the other reason that I don't really is that note is specifically aimed at Jon. It says his name a bunch of times. It's got a lot of things that are specifically to Jon, and I feel like if he was involved, he would not want that. I don't know. It just seems like that's too aimed towards him. He wouldn't want that.
He'd want to deflect more, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't think so. I think whoever was involved with this was targeting either JonBenet, obviously, or doing it more to get at him. I don't think he had anything to do with this. I don't think he had a reason to really do anything, have anything to do with this. It's not like JonBenet, at least none that we know, it just doesn't seem like a logical choice.
No, it doesn't. So another theory with the family is that Patsy did something to JonBenet. Under this theory, most people think that she snapped while dealing with a potty training accident because JonBenet was known to wet the bed or have accidents.
Yeah, and that's a big deal too because at that age, that's a sign of child abuse. So, maybe she got up to go to the bathroom and she had an accident, and maybe Patty accidentally hit her and hit her too hard. She hit her head, something along those lines, maybe.
I mean, that's what a lot of people think. That would explain the ransom note, because it would have been meant to get Jon out of the house, because it was aimed towards him and telling him to go to the bank and get this money and all this stuff. So if he would have done what was in the letter, he should have left the house without calling the police, without doing any of that stuff. And then she would have had time to move the body or...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the note, it turns out, was written on paper from inside the house and written from a pen that was also inside the house.
Yeah, and her handwriting is the only one that has been able to not be ruled out.
Right. It was inconclusive. But we've talked about this before, and handwriting samples are a junk science.
Yeah, it's true.
It's really more of an art form than a science. You could get 10 experts that all say different things.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really is kind of anybody's guess. But I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about Patsy having something to do about this?
I don't know. Logically, it makes sense. Like, a child that young, the people most likely to do something to them would be their parents.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. And that opinion is very unpopular. Most people think it was the family, but I just don't.
So you don't think anybody in the family had anything to do with it?
No, I don't. And I know Burke is another really popular theory, that he was jealous of Jonbenet, and that maybe something happened that night and he hit her, and then Jon and Patsy covered it up because they didn't want to lose two kids. Yeah. And I don't buy that either.
I know you don't, and I think of the entire family theories, I do lean heavy to the Burke side. I have heard, and I kind of seemed very consistent, that they got home late from the party. Jonbenet was upstairs. Burke's downstairs having some one-on-one time with his mom. Jonbenet wakes up, comes down. She's hungry. Here comes his, brat little sister again, like getting this one-on-one time with his mom. And, now she's going to make her favorite dessert, milk and pineapple, because she knows it's her favorite. And that mag light that was on the counter was about the same diameter of the skull fracture. So,
yeah,
I think it's an easy way to go to think that Burke hit her over the head one time, obviously too hard, and Patsy realizing very quickly, if she calls the police, they're gonna take Burke, to a mental institution because of what he just did, and probably understands Jonbenet is not in good shape, and instead of losing both kids, did what she had to do to cover it up.
See, and I get that. I understand the theory that, like, the parents would cover for their kid to try to, like, not lose both kids. I totally get that theory. I understand it. The only thing that I don't understand is murdering one child to save the other one. Because Jonbenet wasn't dead yet. She was still alive after the skull fracture. The strangulation with the garrote is what killed her. So I don't understand. You would think as a parent, your first instinct, if your kid is hit over the head with a mag light and is unconscious, you would just dial 911.
Totally. I do think that. But I also think that if she was hit like that and she, became immediately unconscious, then she's looking already like she's dead. And maybe, you're just seeing the wound in her and going, oh my God, she's dead. She's dead.
Yeah, but there was no wound.
Well, there was the skull fracture, so, maybe
there was no, it didn't break the skin. That's why they didn't even know about the skull fracture until the autopsy.
No, I know, but, still, you saw him hit. Maybe you hear that thud. She could have hit, felt her head and she went down. Something along those lines. Yeah. I feel like there's so many small instances that could fit in there if you're going to go with the family that it's not.
No, it's not a bad theory.
It's not a far reach. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Hang on real quick. Just to answer your question. Though, why? Because she thinks she's already dead and she's going to move the body. Maybe she puts her downstairs and then, Jonbenet moves and she's like, oh my God, we're already too far down the rabbit hole on this. So we got to do.
I don't know. I would feel like if her daughter moved or if she had any inkling that she was still alive, she would immediately get her help. Like that was her angel.
I get what you're saying.
Her baby.
I totally understand what you're saying. But to these people, though, obviously the pageantry was, something that was very important to them. The way they looked in the community was very important to them. They were millionaires. He was a bigwig at his company.
I get it. I get the optics of it.
Yeah.
that's part of the theory is that they didn't want to lose Burke too after
Right.
JonBenet was already dead. And it's like, well, you wouldn't have lost him because he was 9 years old. Like,
wouldn't have lost
they're not
him
going to arrest a 9-year-old.
No, wouldn't arrest him, but they would definitely do some psych evals on him. And to me, that sounds like he would go off to a mental institution, at least for a time being.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Ed Kemper did.
Yeah, and there was always rumors of Burke being involved and the parents covering it up, but it really hit the fucking twilight zone.
Yeah.
In 2016 when CBS aired this documentary that pretty much only focused on Burke. And a doctor named Warner Spitz literally accused him of murdering JonBenet. And they had a couple of other like pretty famous forensic experts and FBI profilers and stuff on this documentary. And there was another doctor named Henry Lee on this program too. And these guys carry a lot of weight in their fields. And I'm not sure why, because they've been involved with cases like O.J. Simpson and Casey Anthony and then now JonBenet. And I'm like, oh, so like America's 3 biggest failures of our criminal justice system? Like,
I know.
Why are we listening to these guys?
You told me that earlier and I died. That was so funny that like these guys are supposed to be like the biggest, people in their field. And it's like their laundry list includes these complete mess ups, and then there's a whole other theory about what happened in OJ's case that we can't get into right now. But
I just thought that was so funny when I saw they were like, they were involved in trials like the O.J. Simpson trial and Casey Anthony. I'm like, we fucked up on those.
Yeah.
You realize that, right?
Those people walked away when probably they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go with probably, but okay.
Well, except for OJ. I that's why I there's that other theory that we can't get into now. Although maybe we should. This is our 1996 season, apparently. We should just jump into that one. But
I know. I don't know what's going on with 96. This whole season, we've had quite a few 96 cases. We got to like hit a different decade here pretty soon.
I guess we liked when we were 9 years old.
I guess.
We were mostly 8 out of it, but I was 9 throughout.
Yeah. So those are pretty much the family theories. I mean, John, Patsy, or Burke, they were the only 3 in the house.
Yeah.
And the note came from the house. The pen came from the house. The garrote was made from stuff in the house. I get why the theories are there.
I get why they're there too. But I mean, I think, where you can jump to really quickly is who was the intruder if it was the intruder theory then.
That's the other theory is the intruder theory.
Yeah, and there's a lot of suspects in this that kind of make a lot of sense. And again, that's why this case is so hard, because they all kind of make a lot of sense.
Right. If it was any one of them, it would be like, okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. How annoying is that?
Yeah. So the intruder theory is mostly based on the unknown DNA, the suitcase by the broken window in the basement, the footprints in the basement made by high-tech boots, marks on JonBenet that could be consistent with a stun gun, and the shitload of creeps that lived in Boulder in the 90s.
The shitload of creeps, man.
Yeah. The theory is that an intruder broke into the home on Christmas night, assaulted and killed JonBenet, left the ransom note, and then left her body in the basement and ran. And I think it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. I mean, it sounds like you sway to it making the most sense.
Yeah. Well, to me, I know that's not a very popular opinion, which is why you always laugh and when you want to talk about JonBenet, because you're like, oh, I want you to tell people your stupid intruder theory.
Yeah, I do. I do want you to tell people your intruder theory, because I do think it makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of questions that go along with it too.
Of course. And logically, I know that it's more than likely wasn't an intruder. Numbers wise, statistics wise, like I get that it's should be not an intruder.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I still think it was.
Okay. All right. So let's get into your bananas theory that normally comes from me and I'm all over the place and you have to debunk me. But
I know.
You know what? How would an intruder even get in?
There was a broken window in the basement that had a grate on it from the backyard, and you would lift the grate up and then crawl into this like window well. I don't know if you've ever seen a window in a basement. They're like down a well.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that window was already broken. So it would make sense that they went in that way. And a lot of people argue that theory because of the spider webs that were the cobwebs that were on the windowsill.
Right.
They said that they would have been disturbed. But I am telling you right now, I have cleaned up cobwebs and the next day they're there again.
True, but usually when cobwebs have a lot of like lint and dust and other things like that, and you can tell when they've been there a long, a short period versus a long period. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it's also possible that there was another window open or another door open when they left to go to dinner.
and yeah, when you get to the intruder theory, I think that's a very likely thing too. I think that, just going around and checking windows and doors and stuff, especially windows, people close windows, sure, but
They don't always lock them.
yeah, they get left unlocked.
And when you live in a nice neighborhood, in a safe town, and you're running around on Christmas Day, like,
Totally.
I mean, it's possible they left the front door unlocked when they left. You don't know.
Exactly. And again, if one of the kids was the last one out,
Yeah.
sure, you can, let's say it was Jonbenet. Don't forget to lock the door. Okay, I did.
Yeah.
No, you did. You're sick. She's 6 years
Yeah.
old. So
Yeah.
I think that's how they got in. Yeah. I think we could, have an
I
easy
think in
time.
a 7,000 square foot house, I think the likelihood that they found one of those million windows unlocked is pretty high.
Yeah.
Especially since that window in the basement, John admitted had been broken since the summer before, and they hadn't replaced it. So it's like
Okay.
you went months with a broken window, so it's not unheard of that they would leave things unlocked.
And if anybody's seen Home Alone, we know that sometimes the intruders come inside or case the joints, I guess, to
Yeah.
check things out beforehand. So
Yeah,
yeah, okay, I can see that. All right.
yeah.
But how would the intruder have so much time to write a note? I mean, it took over 20 minutes for people to copy it. So it's going to take at least, say, 10 minutes longer to write,
Yeah.
to think and write through all that and use some of those words. And they would have had to find paper and pens inside the house and know where all that kind of stuff was too.
Yeah, which does seem very risky. But if somebody watched them leave for Christmas dinner, they would have had and broke in right away. They would have had hours in the house by themselves to learn the layout of the house, to find a paper. Maybe that's why the ransom note is so long and rambling, because they were bored waiting for them to come home. Maybe they were just walking around with nothing to do inside this house.
Okay. All right.
And so maybe the ransom note was never meant to make sense. Maybe it was just, maybe the guy sat down and watched one of these crazy movies that he was quoting.
Okay, going off of that theory then, what if the note was just like a creative writing thing he was doing and it's not actually anything and he was just writing it and then, they came home and he like, and just forgot and left it.
Yeah, or the ramblings of a person who's not mentally well.
That could be too.
Which could be quite a few of these suspects that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
It could just be somebody just putting things on paper because they were waiting for the family to get home.
Okay, so then was this intruder somebody that they knew, or how would they have already known about that $1,800,000?
$118,000.
What did I say?
$1,800,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot more money.
Yeah. Okay, so would the intruder then? How did they know to ask for $118,000 for the note?
See, and that's the one stickler in my theory that bothers me, because it does seem like it should be somebody that personally knows the finances of this family. Like, how would they know that number specifically?
Right.
And it's a 1 in a billion chance that that's coincidence, because it's such a specific number. It's not like 120,000 or 100,000. It's
Yeah.
very specific. But if this person was in the house for hours before the Ramseys got home from the Christmas party, maybe John's bonus check stub was in his office in the drawer.
Oh, and as they were poking around. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe this guy saw the check or saw the check stub or saw a bank statement.
So you think that this person was coming for Jonbenet regardless and just found that number and was like, cool, we'll go with that.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it was like a conscious decision, like, oh, we're going to go with that to make it look like it was somebody who knew the family. Could have been. But maybe it was just one of those things where they just saw that number on a paper in the office, and then when they're writing a ransom note, they wrote that number.
I think that would be pretty thought through if they like threw that in there just as like a twist or a turn for this.
Could be.
It would be very brilliant, I think, but I feel like if going off of your theory, I think, seeing that number and just saying that's a big number, I know he's got it, not knowing exactly
Yeah.
how much money they've got. Like, all right, I want this. That's a lot.
Well,
so
that's the other thing is a lot of these intruder creeps, it's not like they were well off or had any idea
yeah.
about money. Like to them, 118, like we talk about it like these people are millionaires. Why wouldn't they would give anything to get their daughter back? Why wouldn't you ask for millions? Like if you're going to go through this, why wouldn't you ask for millions? But to them, they're like, dude, 118,000, crazy. Let's get it. Like,
yeah.
they don't know. They're just like, isn't that a lot of money? It's like, well, it is a lot of money, but they have a lot more money than that. So
yeah.
If you're going to risk life in prison to kidnap this kid, you should probably ask for as much as they're going to give you.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they meant to add another like comma in there or something and ask for like $1,018,000. I mean, whatever.
Right.
But they just were stupid. That could be it.
That's
too.
what I think. That's what I think is that maybe they saw a check stub or a bank statement or something and they were like, oh my God, this guy's got $118,000. Let's get it.
Yeah. I like this theory a lot more when you think about this person and like they're just stupid.
Yeah. Well, I think they are stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there's something going on.
Or they're mentally unwell. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's
definitely.
something going on. Like a normal, regular person isn't going to be like, yeah, let's go do this horrible thing. Like this is, obviously we're dealing with some extenuating circumstances here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, so then you're saying that they just wrote it before any of this went down.
Yeah, I think so. I think they were killing time.
Okay, so that explains why Jonbenet was dead there. He was planning to take her with.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because that's another question. Everybody's like, well, why would an intruder write a note if he'd already killed her? And it's like, well...
Yeah, he wouldn't have.
I don't think he did, though. I think he wrote the note before he killed her.
Right.
And then either he was planning to kill her the whole time and you just wrote the note as like a fuck around, or he wasn't planning on killing her. He was planning on taking her, and then things went awry, and he ended up killing her.
I like where this is going. Like, honestly, like now more and more, I'm kind of digging where this is going, because I think if the intention was to kill her there, they wouldn't have written a note. Absolutely not. Like, even to cover their own tracks. Like, why, spend that time? It doesn't make any sense.
I know. Which is why a lot of people say that Patsy makes sense, because the ransom note makes sense for Patsy.
Yeah.
And they say it doesn't make sense for an intruder. And I think it doesn't really make sense for an intruder unless that intruder was just out of his mind and walking around this house, that he had plenty of time to walk around and do things.
I like where you're going with all that. And actually, I think that a lot of that makes sense. But how have we not had a good suspect yet then? Because if that's true, don't you think there'd be so much DNA evidence like throughout the house, not just the crime scene? Like if someone's walking around looking for different things, wouldn't they leave something somewhere?
Well, you would think so, but it's not like the Boulder police buckled down and really went through the crime scene with a fine-tooth comb. Like the whole crime scene was a mess. And we do have Lou Smith's list of suspects, which was the DA's investigator that they hired, who was a decorated homicide detective. And he came up with this database with like lists of suspects because there's so many creeps in Boulder in the 90s.
There were so many. And like, we're going to talk about a handful of them, but again, it's just a couple of them out of the many that were. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about John Mark Carr, because he's the one that a lot of people remember when they think of the Jonbenet. Yeah,
he's who I thought of too, like who I always think of, and he's the weirdest person probably on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. John Mark Carr was a 41-year-old elementary school teacher and was arrested in Bangkok, Thailand in 2006 when he falsely confessed to murdering Jonbenet. So he claimed that he drugged, sexually assaulted, and accidentally killed her in a love game gone bad.
Yeah, what? Man, and this is gross.
Yeah.
Like, all right, he's an elementary school teacher and he's saying these things. Like this guy's just gross.
He is gross. But he only had basic knowledge of the crime, like stuff that was publicly known in his confession, and he didn't have anything else. Like, he had nothing else that matched. She wasn't drugged. Like, nothing else matched the crime scene. And his DNA was tested, and that was also not a match. And he was apparently not in Colorado in December of 96.
But
Like
wasn't
they've
he
proved
known
that he wasn't even in the state.
But wasn't he known to go to these kinds of pageants?
Oh, yeah. He was like a pageant fan, which
Yeah,
I didn't know was allowed.
Right, exactly. And there's like a bunch of them. And that's where a lot of these creeps come from, is like this pageant fan. This is one of the probably many reasons why Erica and I are so against these pageants. At least if like just letting hordes of pedophiles in. It's like it's like the bat signal. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I would imagine, like, just in my not general knowledge of pageants, I would think that it would be family only. I wouldn't think that these things would be, like, open to the public. But no, apparently that's just like, let's do this in a mall where weirdos can watch and eat their Wetzel's pretzels at the same time. It's like, no. Let's not do this.
Ever. Anywhere.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yep. So, John Mark Carr, not a great suspect.
Yeah.
So, another one of these creepos that would go to pageants, I guess, as a fan.
I hate that. I continue to hate everything about it. I don't
even
like
like saying it.
I don't like that. Like, we have to talk about it.
Yeah. So, another one of these guys was Gary Howard Oliva. And he was arrested in 2016 on 2 counts of attempted sexual exploitation of a child and 1 count of sexual exploitation of a child.
Okay. All right.
So he's a registered sex offender, and he had pictures of Jonbenet with him when he was arrested.
Like,
he's a real creep.
Just from like his own pictures that he took at the pageants?
No, I think they were like media pictures. Like he had like newspaper clippings and stuff.
Oh, after she was like reported missing or found dead, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
but this is 20 years later, and he had pictures of Jonbenet with him when he was arrested.
Oh, man. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, this is 2016.
Yeah, sorry. Honestly, I wasn't really listening when you were talking about him because like I don't really like talking about this. So
you kind of blocked it out.
I really kind of was. So okay, I'm looking at the notes now. I see. Okay, 2016. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just what a terrible person. Like,
I know.
You know why? Why did you have her picture with you? Stop it.
Right? So shit like this is what it's like any of these guys could be it, you know?
No, one thing about Gary Olivia, though, is that he called a friend of his that night and said that he hurt a little girl.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the theory, too, is because he like called and was like, I heard a little girl. And his friend was like, what do you mean? And like, why are you this guy's friend? But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, his friend came out years later and did say that he called him that night.
Yeah, and Jonbenet was the only girl within the area that had a report of a little girl being hurt that night. So
right,
that's a strike against him too.
Oh yeah, totally. He's foul. I hate this guy.
Yeah, you should.
So the next guy you all are going to hate is Michael Helgoth, and he's another suspect who came to light when one of his friends named John Kennedy, who is not the president, it's spelled differently, accused him of being involved in this Jonbenet thing. And he says that everything fits, this Michael Helgoth guy. That Michael told him that he was about to come up on $50,000 or $60,000 around Christmas time, which would have been half of the ransom if he had an accomplice, which a lot of people think if it was an intruder, it would have been 2 people.
Right.
And according to his friends, he liked really young girls and was super creepy with girlfriends, making them like shave their whole bodies to look younger.
See, I'm not okay with this.
Yeah, and he would act weird with his girlfriend's kids. Like, it was kind of really, you know.
Where do these people find each other?
I don't know. But his friend pretty much is the only person that's saying all of this, but everything does fit. If everything his friend is saying, it does all fit. And then when the DA, Alex Hunter, gave a press conference in February of 97 saying that he was closing in on the suspect, Michael Helgoth turned up dead.
Ooh.
And a lot of reports say it was suicide, which would make sense even if he wasn't here. You'd be like, oh shit, they're closing in, suicide. Yeah. But he had a gunshot wound to the lower abdomen, which is like kind of the worst way, I feel like, to kill yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, that sounds like more like somebody's like trying to slow you down.
Yeah, it's a weird way to do it. It feels like extra painful and extra long and like... And
there's nothing vital there.
Yeah, if you don't hit the right thing, you're not going to die. So it's like, I don't know what that was about, but that's a whole nother case for a whole nother episode. But on his nightstand in these crime scene photos from his death, whether it was a suicide or a murder, he had a stun gun on his nightstand and high-tech boots in his bedroom, which the boot prints found in the basement of Jonbenet's house on the night that she was murdered were high-tech brand boots. And the marks on her during the autopsy are consistent with a stun gun mark.
God, yeah, this guy makes too much sense.
He does make a lot of sense.
Any chance that this guy and like Gary Oliva like knew each other? Like, did they run in the pageant circle together? Creep.
I'm not certain. I don't think there's any proof that they did, but I feel like creepy people like this find each other.
Yeah. I mean, maybe those two like went in on it together or something.
See, that's another reason why two people being the intruder is a popular theory, because these guys suck so bad. You're like, they have to know each other, right? Like
they have to.
Like, they suck so bad. They have to be in on it together. So, I don't know. There's no proof that they know each other, but another suspect was a lady that worked for Jon's company that was fired for embezzling money from Access Graphics. And apparently the amount of money that she embezzled was similar to the ransom amount, but she was not.
I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it was similar money. I think the correlation there is that because she was on the inside, she would know how much he was getting. And that's why she would know what to ask for that.
Well, that's true too. That could be.
Yeah.
But she was ruled out.
Why? But there was a whole thing there too about like she had two stepsons and like they went there and stuff. But everything I've heard of too, the stepsons are like, we hate her. So no, it probably wasn't them.
Yeah, that's everything I've heard too, was that they were in the middle of a divorce, like the dad and her, and the sons were like, we wouldn't pee on her if she was on fire, let alone kill a child for her. So no, thank you.
Yeah.
So a couple of other suspects was a photographer that worked with JonBenet often for glamour shots that was arrested quite a few years later on child porn charges, which makes sense. I'm like, oh, you take pictures of little kids for a living? Yeah, you probably should check out your computer and see what's on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Probably a good place to start.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like, who's doing that? Like, why is that your job? Do something else.
Yeah.
Find something else to do. You shouldn't be doing this. If this is what you're doing, and I am not for this at all. I do not condone this. I do not respect it.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it. Photographer is a profession. I get that. You know, it's
Sure.
They have to be talented and all that. But this isn't like family portraits of kids and stuff. These are like glamour shots of babies in like outfits with like poses on their face that are totally not appropriate.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, see,
I don't know. I don't love it.
No. And like this pageant photo shoot thing, like, stop doing that too.
Yeah.
Stop it. Just stop. Especially stop hiring like weird men. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you hire a weird man to do this? It's already weird enough and you're going to make it extra weird. Stop it.
Yep.
Oh,
another suspect that everybody likes to talk about is Santa Claus.
Yeah. Poor Santa Claus. I think Santa Claus is just a nice old man, kind of a little strange.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there was a guy named Bill McReynolds who played Santa at various Christmas parties and things around the area. Apparently he played Santa Claus at one of the Ramseys' Christmas parties recently before this happened. There's some connections there where JonBenet gave him a vial of glitter because she heard he was sick.
Yeah, he had just had like quadruple bypass surgery or something, right?
Yeah, he was about to have it, and she gave him a vial of glitter and told him that it was like magic fairy dust and it would keep him safe during his surgery and all that. Like, she was sweet.
Yeah.
You know, and people think he's weird because he took the vial of glitter in with him to his surgery and stuff. But it's like, his wife has said he was a nice old man. It was the first time a kid had ever given him a gift as Santa Claus. I don't know. If some little kid gives me a gift and then that little kid dies and that she told me to take this into my heart surgery with me, that it would keep me safe, I'm probably going to take it with me.
Yeah. The thing that makes him a little weird, though, is because he said that, like, if he died during his surgery, he wanted to be like his ashes mixed with the glitter. That's where people get a little like weird about Santa Claus.
Yeah. And that is kind of weird, but who says that he said that? Like, that's
I think it was his wife who said that, but I think that's who it was. But again, like, but to
maybe
your point,
he was
like,
on anesthesia. Maybe he was like going under and like all high.
Well, who knows? But I think to your point, like, it meant a lot to him. And if I remember right, like, he had lost his daughter not too long ago as well. And so it was just this
No, his daughter was kidnapped 20-something years before.
Oh, okay.
Right on the night after Christmas. But she was recovered. She wasn't murdered. She was recovered.
Yeah, but wasn't going back to Santa Claus, wasn't Mrs. Claus, his wife, didn't she write a book about a girl who got kidnapped and, like, murdered and found in a basement? Like, there was a whole other thing that was going on with that too. Like, Santa Claus isn't as open and shut as I kind of remembered it being. Like, now I've kind of, like, the memories are flooding back, and it was like there was some weird things going on
There was some weird things, but I just don't know if physically he could have been in need of a triple bypass surgery and picked up a 6-year-old, carried her 3 flights downstairs to the basement, and then did what happened to her. I don't know if physically he could have done that.
And that's where I think, for me, like, I think that's where it wipes him out. Like, he couldn't have done that. Like, there was just too much going. Like, he had just had a quadruple bypass, and it was like not long after. Like, there's no way. Like, he's climbing. Like, he's climbing steps and up and down and carrying heavy. No, not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of dismissed the Santa Claus thing, but we had to say it because a lot of people talk about it. But I mean, there's a million more suspects, and there's a bunch more even on Lou Smith's database that probably should be checked out a little bit.
Yeah, they probably should be. But again, Boulder PD won't get out of their own damn way.
Yeah. They're focused on the Ramseys. So I don't know. A lot of people think it was the Ramseys. And like I said, logically, it probably was the Ramseys. But I just don't think so.
I think that there could be. I don't know. I think that there's a lot that makes sense for both, but no matter what, I think there were way too many creepy guys living in Boulder, Colorado in the mid-90s, and I hope that cesspool has been cleaned up.
Yeah. So do you have a wild, crazy, off-the-wall theory, or just mine this week?
I think it's going to be just yours. I mean, mine, I don't think are too off the wall, honestly. I think it makes sense that either, Helgoth and Gary Olivia had something to do with it together. I think that makes the most sense in the Intruder Theory. And then I think it makes a lot of sense that somebody inside, and I think Patsy had something to do with it. If you're going to look at it on that side of things, I think one way or another, Patsy had something to do with it. But, a lot of people do, especially because a lot of the experts say that her handwriting can't be ruled out. And then I've even seen a lot of experts that are like, this note was written by a woman. It's like, why? Because it was long? No, I think because it's legible.
Yeah, but I'm like, that's rude.
Yeah.
Like, it could have just been written by a guy who was rambling. But I get what they're saying. Like, women say things in a lot more words than men say them. And
you've said, too, that the note sounds like, especially the end, sounds like, somebody yelling at their wife. Like, what did it say? Like, don't get stupid, John. Or
don't grow a brain, John.
Don't grow a brain, John. Yeah. So it's like, that you've said, before that you feel like that's very, like, wife to husband direct, and so.
It does.
That could be, too.
We also forgot to mention that you said the letter was legible, but there was a few spelling mistakes in the letter on kind of simple words, and then words that are more commonly misspelled were spelled correctly. So a lot of people think that the words that were misspelled on purpose to make it seem like the person was foreign.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, like I forget what words it is, but like business, I think, was spelled wrong.
I could see myself spelling business wrong in a pinch, yeah.
But they were easy words, and then words that were harder were spelled right. And it's like, is that on purpose to look uneducated or to look like English wasn't your first language?
And then you use the word attaché, and
that's another thing.
You only really hear that word in this.
Right?
It's not a common...
A lot of people are like, what's an attaché? Oh, yeah, it's a briefcase. We know that because of Jonbenet.
It's not a common, word used. Neither's briefcase anymore, but...
Well, I know, but attaché really isn't.
Right, exactly. But you get what we're saying. Like, you don't, like... I've never gone, attaché shopping or briefcase shopping, but you know what I mean. So...
Yeah, you just never use that word for it.
Oh, I need a new attaché. Can you hand me my attaché, please? Maybe when Flip comes over, we can look at our attachés together. Oh, Fleet. Oh, well,
idiot.
Who cares?
Yeah. No, so I know there's you could go on for days about all the theories and all the rabbit holes in each theory, but that's pretty much the gist. I mean, obviously somebody in her family killed her, but I think it was an intruder.
I think that there's a case for both. I think you can go either way. And, the saddest part about this, I think, is that most of the experts believe that we will never solve this case because we just have no idea. There's too many what ifs or one-offs or could have been this, could have been that. And the way that the crime scene was handled was so poorly bumbled that...
Well, that's the sad part, is that the DNA is so messed up that even if they ever identify a suspect, everybody's going to be kind of like, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because it's like, we don't know how good the DNA is. And just like if you think the family did it, all that unknown DNA, you're just writing that off like, well, whatever, there's a reason for that being there. It's like, well, until we know whose it is, though, there might not be a reason for it. Like, yeah, if we identify all 6 DNA samples and they were all crime scene techs or all people that were known to be in the house that day ruining the crime scene, then yeah, maybe there was an innocent reason. But if they finally identify that DNA and it's some creepy guy that used to go to pageants all the time, like, maybe why is that there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the DNA is really the only way this is ever going to get solved, and then it still may not, because depending who the DNA is will depend if it matters or not.
Yeah, and I mean, gosh, I hope we figure it out soon. But I like you said, I don't think anyone's going to actually be like, oh, for sure, because I think if we were going to do that, we would have already done it. I think there's going to be maybe some more educated guesses. But I don't think it'll be outside of that.
Yeah. Although, you can't ever say never on these cases because they're solving...
That's true.
40, 50-year-old cases all the time, like the Arroyo Grande Jane Doe was just identified.
I know. How happy were you, man?
Yeah.
That was so fun to talk to you about that because you were over the moon about it. So
it's kind of weird now, though, because I'm like, oh, what do I do now? Like,
I guess you can stop trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, not just trying to figure it out, but just like little things like going through yearbook photos and like, oh, does any of these people look familiar? It's like,
I know.
Oh, what am I going to do now?
Well,
now I guess I'll focus on this podcast.
Oh, good. Hey, here we go. We're about to take off at CrimeCon 2022.
Yeah. No, I was very happy though. Now they got to catch her killer.
I hope 2022 isn't 2022.
Also.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like a movie sequel like 2022.
2022.
Yeah, 2022. Like 2021 was 2020 and 2021 were fine. We don't need any more.
Yeah, fine. I think they were bogus.
These roaring 20s are off to a roaring start.
Oh yeah, great start.
Yep, we're firing into the new year. Masks and all.
Yeah. So, anyway, I guess that's our theory about JonBenet.
Well, we did it. We did JonBenet after, so long of talking about it. And, it finally took us to, what is this, episode 35? But we did it. We did JonBenet, and I think we did it pretty well. Good job, Erica.
Yeah. And if any of you guys have a theory that you're absolutely certain is what happened, please come argue with us on Instagram at From Crime to Crime.
Please.
Oh, I would love it.
Please come talk to us about it.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with anybody, but...
I will. If someone's arguing with you, it's probably me. If they're nice to you, it's probably Erica.
Although you won't argue with anybody. When they tell you your theory, you'll be like, oh shit, that makes sense.
I could. Also, if they're funny, it's me. So just so you know. So if they're nice, it's Erica. If they're funny and argumentative, it's me. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Don't forget to tell your friends about our podcast here.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody stays safe this New Year's, and we'll see you all next week.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good, too.
Don't drink and drive.
Oh, yeah. Call somebody. Don't call me, but call somebody to pick you up.
Yeah. Don't walk home alone either.
Yeah. Definitely walk in pairs. If nothing else, walk in pairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way
Guys
at least
too.
there's 2 of you.
Boys, too. Don't think that you're safe, too. There's people out there looking for you.
That was kind of creepy.
That's true. And
There's people out there looking for you.
I don't know. Take it out. I would walk by myself.
Guys,
anyway.
you're not immune. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I would walk by myself. So take that out. I would fight evildoers off like I was Darkwing Duck.
Okay, well, stay safe and don't drink and drive. Don't walk home alone. And
don't forget to change your Amazon Smile to DNA Doe Project.
Boom.
All right. I love you.
All right, bud. I love you too. Happy New Year.
Happy
See
New
you
Year.
tomorrow.
All right. Call you later.
Okay.